So this is like I don't know if it's part 4 or
part 2 of part 3.
Yeah, this is getting ridiculous. So at the end of our antenna podcast, if you're listening to that whole thing, which is like an hour and 25 minutes, and that's why I feel bad about doing another podcast on top of it, this will be our goal is like 10 minutes. We're going to just knock this out. But at the end of that, we did some looking, and it was pretty apparent that the ground plane antenna did very well, and it beat the other one. Mm-hmm. And so my question when I went to sleep after, because I did not examine that data before the podcast. I didn't want to have a predefined. I wanted to do it real time, and so I had the data. I made sure it was right, but I didn't go and check everything like we did on the podcast. And so you asked a very really real question during the podcast, which was the points of tracking. How many?
Yeah, the tracking points.
Yeah, how many tracking points that had, and so. Anyways, with those numbers, it was pretty clear that the ground plane antenna handily beat the Browning antenna that we sell. And so when I was, I listened to me rethink in real time on the podcast, I'm like, God, it's good and it's bad. But what I didn't want to do was, in my head, I'm still like, dude, this shouldn't be that big of a difference. So if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, and that's fine.
Right.
So I was like, I have to do it again. I have to do one more test just for my own peace of mind to know. And so what I did, and this was 2 days ago, I went up there and I switched the handheld and I switched the position. So basically on my truck, I parked in the same exact parking spot. Where I put the ground plane antenna, I put the Browning antenna. So where the hound recovery antenna was on my truck, I put the Browning antenna in the little marks on my window on top. I could see the little dust or whatever marks. And then where the Browning antenna was, I put the hound recovery antenna.
The triple mag mount.
The triple
ground plane
Yep.
antenna.
And we got that on our website. We've already sold a couple. It did good. It still outperformed the Browning in the position. So I'm not disputing that. But what I wanted to make sure is that it was it the antenna? And my biggest question was it the antenna or was it the alpha? Because what if that alpha tracked a little better than the other alpha?
Which happens.
That happens. And so I was like, okay, I need to make sure it's not that alpha. And so I really wanted to switch alpha positions, the alphas. And I thought, I should just swap the handhelds. So basically I just swapped the antennas and swapped the handhelds, and we were going to rerun the test. I didn't run the same test because I had it in a different spot. Some of it's the same. I did the same loop in the beginning, but I was honestly I was going to run a bigger loop. I was going to run get like 20 miles away from my truck, and then I ended up getting distracted by a track in the snow. Yeah, I got distracted, so I didn't. I can tell you how far. So if you're looking at the screen, this is the antenna from the first one. Okay, If you kind of look here, I'm going to show you my track. And this will be the route I took for the second test, which should have been 2 days ago. Here's just the actual route I see. So you can see where I came down here, I turned this road, I did good, I did here. And here I went down and I just continued hunting this way. I didn't turn around and make this loop back towards the truck. So antenna track 2, you can see I did that. But yeah, I was going out here and I was going to make this big loop out here and come back in and get like 20 miles away from the thing. I got distracted right here. You can see that doesn't look like a.
How come them lines are squiggly, buddy?
It doesn't look. This is the dog. The other thing that I wish I would have done on the first podcast was here's the actual track of a dog, so Shy, and this is the data from my handheld that was with me on my snowmobile. So if you look at this, we can see that there was 3,136 points on this, and what I want to show here is you see this little section right here where it missed?
Yep.
That's probably from loading up in the dog box and it lost GPS for a little while.
Yeah.
Other than that, the GPS worked really well in that aluminum dog box. So
I was surprised.
I was like, oh, wow. You know what I mean? I would have expected a little bit more lines across here. And so when I looked at this track, I was like, wow, there really was. So on Shy's collar, the standard was when I got 3,136 points from my handheld that was with me. So it'll be interesting to see how many points we got from the truck antennas, which at some points were, and I can tell you at the furthest point away I was 8.8 miles. Okay, so my first question is, did we track the 8.8 miles? What do you think?
I mean, I think he picked up pieces, yeah, and it wouldn't surprise me.
Well, let's leave Shy for last. Let's leave Shy for last. Let's look at Andy.
Oh, Andy.
There we go.
Oh,
so
Andy, that looks rough.
This is Andy. Let me put an actual track on top of Andy so you can see where we went. So here you go. You can see
that's rough.
We tracked out to this point just like before. You know what I mean? Everybody made this turn. Here's about where I loaded them in the dog box. I didn't road them out here. So maybe this caller, I don't know. Maybe it lost. I don't know. I'm not going to speculate. Escape. But it didn't track in through here. But if we do some measurements, again, the red is the Browning antenna. The green is the triple mount. So here I can tell you the furthest point I tracked with the Browning. If I start here, come on.
It's going to be like
and then 7. I go for the Browning. I got 8.2 miles with the Browning antenna. And I got 8.7 miles with the ground plane. Okay. What we've been doing, so that's
with a lot of missed points between
a lot of missed points in there. So since we're looking at points here, 667 points with the Browning and 672.
So pretty comparable.
10 points out of the whole day.
Super close.
10 points. So we did I think the
compared to 3,000, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like
so 3,000, well, yeah, roughly 3,000 total. So which one wins? It's so close. 672 with the regular. So ground plane wins by 10 extra tracking points. And it did track a few extra miles.
Extra half
here,
mile.
Right?
Yep.
Again, right here, it looks like the ground. Again, this is what we seen yesterday or the other day when we did the test where that ground plane antenna tracked through these curves better. Yeah. So I'm going to chalk Andy up. The ground plane did better.
Yeah, that's consistent. That whole section right there still.
Here's my handheld. This little point out here, I'm telling you right now, is not a real point. I did not go out to this point.
That's a flyer.
So that's a flyer. But if I looked at, let's look at the ground plane, 189. The ground plane tracked 189 points. The Browning tracked 156.
And remember, those are different because they're not on a 2.5 second update.
No, yeah, right? These are 30
That was
second,
a handheld,
30,
so that's every 30 seconds.
I don't know what the route is. I'm just saying. So a second win for the ground plane antenna, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, again, this is kind of making me believe that maybe that antenna is better. I don't know. Della. So we're going to look at Della. Both of them tracked extremely well. So what I'm not seeing on this one is, remember those curves?
That held good.
Both antennas held that pretty good. Here we go. Let's look at this flyer right here. So they both tracked out to here. The ground plane antenna picked it up right here, and the Browning antenna did not. So here's a quick pin. So, and then the Browning picked out this so the further distance won by the Browning.
Mm-hmm.
On this one. So the furthest distance by the Browning is 8.8 miles by the Browning antenna. The furthest distance is 8.3 miles by the ground plane antenna. So in this caller, the Browning got the furthest point. Let's look at the hard data we've been looking at. So on the Browning, we got write this down, Jason. 1,413 points. Okay. For the Browning antenna. And let's look at the 1389. So Browning finally gets a win, Jason.
Yeah.
Circle the wagons. Browning's best. We're going to stop the podcast.
Just stop.
Right Just
quit looking.
I got what I want. Browning is better.
That's how you
Ground
test.
plane stinks. Okay.
But, man, that's a lot of empty space between
I'm going to delete every other part of the podcast, and we're just going to look at Della. That's the way you do this, okay?
Oh, man.
That's what people do. So we could hide all the other data, look at this one point and go, well, we tracked whatever I just said. So I'm going to continue on. I don't want to digress too much. I don't want to rub it in. We got a winner.
We got one winner. Thanks, Del.
One in the W court, because all we want is we just live by the Browning. All right.
Now, Sadie.
Again. Oh, look at this.
That's unfair.
This
advantage.
is opposite right here. So this might be another Browning win. I'm just looking at this right here. Red is Browning. So see the way this green is skipping? That tells me that the Browning tracked better right here. Through
and
these curves.
kept the curves and a lot more.
Another one here. You see this green? Like, there's not a lot of points here. There's 1, 2, maybe 4 or 5 points through this section here that the Browning picked up.
That the other didn't.
That the ground plane had a rough time with. I think this is a ground plane win right here. I think this is a Browning's. But who knows? I mean, it might have curved out here, so.
What are the total tracking points on that one? It looks like she has way more.
We're going to look at that here because this is a really, it's a close match. Let's just see. So what do you want to see first? Browning or?
I want to see Browning because it looks
Browning
like it's
first.
got more.
694. Write it down.
694.
Okay, and let's look at the ground plane. Drum roll. 651.
Okay.
So Browning won this one.
And she was out of the box the entire time.
Yep, this is Sadie.
Because she's your lap dog.
This is my lap dog. She never got in the box. So Sadie is a Browning win. So now we got Della and Sadie winning on the Browning. We got Andy and my handheld winning with the ground plane. We're a tie. Are we tied right now?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Do you count a handheld? It's not really.
No, it's a handheld.
Same.
It's a handheld.
Well,
it's
then yeah, you're
missed.
even. We're even, buddy.
All right, we got Shelby. Whoa.
What happened to shelves?
This is odd.
I don't know if you can count that.
This is really odd. So what it looks like, let me explain this. So they tracked out. So yeah, this is a failure by both devices. So it tracked me out going out here, and then it lost this point. Right here's the last point it got.
Mm-hmm.
Now the ground plane knew it was out here, so it got 1, 2, 3 points out here. This is not.
That's a flyer.
4 points out here. So there's 4 points that it got pinged out here. But it never got me coming back in. So if I looked at the actual, let's throw the actual track on this one. This is Shelby. Let me look at so I can see Shelby and the actual track. Okay. So you can see went out here. I went all the way out here. It never tracked. One of the ground plane antenna picked me up one time here. I continued on this trail.
So wait a minute.
You can see during the race, it picked up 1 point during the race. I had actually 2 points. This is a flyer.
You're right.
I never.
What about your curves? If you go back to where it was showing, like they've been dropping out, there's nothing, right? Or is that an overlay that I'm missing?
They're equal. It didn't. It made all the curves. It made all the turns. It turned
Both
really
of them
good
did.
right here. So this is an interesting one. I would throw this data away if it were me. If I was looking at data, it's a total failure because even when I came back through here, all the way here, it never picked those colors up until it was. Something happened. It didn't pick those colors up until it was like 500 feet away.
Yeah.
So 500 feet away is when it started registering that collar again. So maybe that was a GPS failure, so she didn't have GPS. There was one collar, actually, and this might be the dog. So, okay, let me explain something really quick. This might be the reason. Back here, right in here somewhere, I took off 3 of my dog collars and put them on my pack, and I didn't do the 4th one. So maybe I left Shelby's on her, and she's curled up in the dog box, and so it lost GPS, and so
that would make sense.
It's not until it got there. So this might be the reason why this collar's so goofy. So
throw that one out.
I would throw this one out the window.
So it comes down to
if we wanted to, we could look just so people could know. The ground plane got 548 points. The Browning got 560 points. So very comparable. Like if you wanted to to look at them, but the ground plane itches out a wind, just a couple points right here. This is one of those situations where you could really skew the data.
Throw that
say,
all out.
Dude, I only got 3 miles with my Browning, and you know what? I got 8.6 miles with my thing. So this is one of those data points that you could make the Browning look really bad. Like if you just if I wanted to skew the data, like I said, if we wanted to look at Della and do everything else, we could show the Browning winds. This is one that you could really show that the ground plane just royally whipped it. And this is what you see on the internet where somebody says, oh, my ground plane will run 8 miles. And anyway, so I'm going to throw this data out, but I just want to show people, if people want an example to show how what I don't even know what time. By the time this is edited, you'll just have to find the time mark and go, hey, watch Shelby's track on that, and you can see that double the distance.
So we got...
Okay.
We didn't do Andy yet, did we?
We did Andy. Andy was a win for the ground plane. Handheld was a win for the ground plane. Della was a win for the Browning. Sadie was a win for the Browning.
Shy.
Shelby, we're going to throw away because her collar is so messed up. We're not gonna count it, and all the haters out there are going to be like, well, whatever. But it's just there's no comparison.
Well, it's a device failure.
If it would have tracked all the way through here, or you know what I mean, if I would have got more points out here and they would have showed not just random splashes, I'd be like, okay, I'd keep it a win. But it's weird.
But on the pickup, I mean, I know we're going a little long here, but when it picked that back up.
Neither one of them
pick up that
here.
ground plane until you were how far away?
500 feet, both 500 of them. Feet. That's why I don't like it.
Yeah.
Is it never – something happened. So, anyways, here's the tiebreaker for the day. The tiebreaker. I'm going to throw the actual track because this is the actual dog, so this is as real of a track as you can get. Here's Shy.
Dang.
Okay.
By far the best one, too.
She did good. This is my best. This seems to be my cow. After looking at yesterday's, that's why I did this one, or last week's. Mm-hmm. Shy was the best performing caller, so I figured this is the one I wanted to pull from the actual track. So through here,
that's great.
You remember Shy kind of lost it through these curves?
Yeah, she stayed solid with both.
Dude, I'd call that
that's a tie.
Dead even. You know what I mean? Like I'm not gonna call one of there. Okay, make the turn. Here's where I loaded dogs up, so the signal got really bad. I mean, I told you I was not going to road my dogs as hard as I did last time.
Because they need feet.
Yep. So through this section, here and here, they both performed very well. Like, boy, this is going to be a good tiebreaker, Jason.
I was going to say, this could be the one and only test.
Come around the corner, both of them. Make the corner really nice. Oh, man. On the back stretch, they're running through here. Dude, we are still tied if I'm just looking at this. They're making the curves nice, right? They're staying with me. Oh,
there you got a little bit of
it's tough
in the curves. Duke boys took over.
Okay, man, these points right here might be the tiebreaker for the ground. You know what I mean? I think the ground plane. If I'm following this through, the ground plane probably picked up the lead right here. Okay.
If you're counting points, yeah.
Man, look at these points here. The ground plane. Right, I tried to start a little track right here. You can see me. The ground plane knew we were doing something here. The Browning kind of skipped over this. So this, again, is the ground plane win right here. Okay? Like the green. You can see what the dog really did right here. I was trying to get this track started. There was an old track right here. It was a shitty track. But anyways, you have to bleep that out. I think... the ground plane is clearly winning right now. Out to here. Not, I want to say clearly, but...
I know, you say clearly. Clearly is a loose term.
If we're going by points, I think the ground plane just
tracking points, yeah, I think you're right.
Right here, this is Browning win. See, the red is following the blue a little bit closer. And then right here, man, this is good. Here's a ground plane wins through here. They both come in here. They both know I'm up here doing something with the track, both of them out here. They're not doing very good through these curves. They pick it up. Man, this is about as tie as you can get. We're going to have to look at the data.
Yeah, even your data, the tracking points. I'm sure that's going to be a ground plane win as far as like the amount of tracking points. I think
with the tracking points, but it's not going to be as bad as 30% like we said the other day.
No, it's a lot closer than your first
8.3 miles. Both of them got an 8.3 mile register the dog at 8.3 miles.
Yeah.
This is a tiebreaker. So the only way we can do it is to look at actual points. We know out of 3,136 points. You got a calculator?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because my teacher was wrong.
Okay. 3,136 points is the total points that caller sent out on my hunt.
Okay.
Okay. So you're going to take the Browning, 774 points. So what's the percentage of that? 774 divided by 3,100 and whatever that number was.
24.7.
24.7 points that were sipped out were received by the Browning.
So less than a quarter of the points were picked
24.
up.
Was it 24 point what?
24.681122.
68. Okay. Now let's take a look at the hound recovery. 913. God, the tiebreaker is going to be a 30% lead. What's 913 divided by 3,000?
29. 29.1.
29.1. So on this caller, the tiebreaker, we have a 5%. It picked up 5% more points than whatever. But. So it wins. So Ground Plane wins again. This is the second win for the Ground Plane. But they squeaked out the win today.
I was going to say, it's also relevant. Like, this is such a hard topic for me because most of it is irrelevant. Like, most guys aren't going to plug it in and look and say, oh, well, I got 25% of my tracking points. You know, they're looking at the map, and it's like, hey, I knew my dog's here. That's what matters. And when you zoom out and you look at these, like, if you're looking at the key point, like, if we're talking about key notes here, other than your one dog that was a complete and utter failure.
Yep.
They're all
Shelby
close,
lost it for Browning.
Man.
Browning, Shelby could have held it down for those freaking red dogs, man. They always screw shit up.
That's the problem. Freaking red bones, man.
Yeah, that's the one. Shelby, you lost for us.
But really, like when you zoom out and you look at the 30,000-foot view of this, I mean, in the end, the results in real usage, they're pretty dang comparable. It's splitting hairs and getting down to like.
I'm going to hold against the red dog.
The fine tuning.
It's the red dog. I never liked that dog anyways.
That's a lie.
Everybody says that's my favorite dog.
This everybody is why knows that's your favorite next to Sadie.
I don't understand why.
Because she's red.
She fails me all the time, Jason.
You got like a thing for gingers and redheaded stepchildren, I think. Look, we got me, we got you, we got Jess.
Oh, yeah. So I'm going to blame the red dog for everybody that the ground plane antenna, the hound recovery antenna that we used it. We switched positions because I really was curious if it really did beat that bad last time. You know, we were talking 20-30%
consistently on all callers.
I was like,
so
wow,
that was not really.
Are we really looking at something? That was my question. I was going to sleep going, am I really looking at that much improvement? Because I've seen where it wasn't, and so I was like, I have to, for my own sanity. If I'm gonna eat crow, which I've already eaten, I mean, I already choked it down, like, and it's still a win by the ground plane. So if you want to look at the win, ground plane wins again, hands down. Okay, I got to get another plate of crow, but this is more in line with what I kind of thought was going to happen the first time.
I agree.
I was a little more surprised how bad it lost, but again, when it beats it good. So, we should just put the blinders on, and we should just look at Della or Andy. I mean, I think we just need to put the blinders on and just look at the one that makes us look better.
Yeah, right.
I think that's what
makes us look better. We saw all of them now. I shipped out one this morning. I actually put one in a box. Can you believe that? I put one in a box and shipped it.
Oh, okay. Any questions, Jason? I want to get to this was not supposed to be a 24-minute podcast, but I wanted to.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah, I wanted to just work through the users. I wanted people to see it come through. Try and do it as fair and transparent as possible, because the biggest thing is it's easy for somebody, even me, to take one of these data points and
skew it
and use that as the basis and be like, oh, this is what it is. And we could have used Shelby right here. And if we just measured distance and didn't look at the big picture, we could have come out of that day. If I just did one collar test and it was Shelby, I would have come out and said one antenna tracked 3.3 miles, the other antenna tracked 8.5 miles that day.
Yeah, but I'd look at that, like, from the outsider. I'd look at that and be like, that antenna is worthless, and I wouldn't pay that kind of money for either one of them. You know, because the data is so bad on that one dog. When you look at everything else.
You don't know that, but if I would have just used one collar as the test, I would have done anything else, just did one collar.
Right.
That day, it would have smoked the data. And you would, and this is maybe where people on the internet come away with, is they get one collar, they get one data point, and it's so skewed that you just put fact on it and you say this is what it is, but you don't look at the big picture. And I guess that's the biggest thing people should take away from on the antenna discussion, is you have to look at the big picture. You can't just look at a single data point, and that also works for me. Like whenever people are talking about it over and over and over again, I look at that on the internet going, if there's that many people who are happy and who say this ground plane antenna outperforms the Browning or the W antenna, it's what you see on the internet. Well, I got the W antenna, it only tracks 3 miles, and my Hound recovery antenna tracks 14 miles. There's enough people saying that I'm not a stupid guy. I'm like, there's some kind of data point that they're seeing that I'm not going to say that it's totally real and that's what you're going to see, but there's enough people that make me think, maybe we need to make sure we offer that antenna. I don't really care. If people are getting good results of it, great. Like, I don't care. But that's kind of the flip side, is I was looking at it enough going, man, there's people that love that antenna. Absolutely love it, and they will die by the sword that that's the best antenna on the market, and you can't do better than that antenna. And who am I to try to change their mind? I don't care.
And we got them 10% off right now.
You salesman, man. I'm trying to be real here, Jason. I'm trying to forgive my red dog, and you're over here trying to make a sale.
Oh, man.
Anyways, let's wrap this up a little bit longer. I said we want to be 10, 15 minutes. I'm ready to put this in. I think with this, we can put this antenna to the test. I said I didn't want to do this, and then I couldn't sleep, and I'm like, damn it, I got to go do it at least one more time. I really don't want to keep doing this test because I don't want to keep talking about it.
But he just wants to go hunting.
I just want to go hunting. I was thinking maybe I need to do this with the 200 because I legitimately believe that the range of the 200 is not as good as the 100, and I know a lot of guys feel that way. So if I do anything, I'm going to lay the rest this Hound recovery versus Browning debacle. You make your decisions, look at the data, buy whichever antenna you want, dude. I don't care. But I think I might try to do an Alpha 100 versus 200 distance test. And I probably even shouldn't say that out loud because now I'm going to have to do it because everybody's going to be like, hey, have you done that? Hey, have you done that? You guys hold me accountable. This is the annoying part when I open my mouth and I'm like, I got this idea.
But he hates me some days for that reason alone.
And then the people, like, they'll message me and be like, hey, have you done that test? Like, I can't tell you how many messages I got asking if I did this test. And I'm like,
I bet.
I did open my mouth, didn't I?
Yep, you did.
Kept my mouth shut. Oh, I should have kept my mouth shut. And I just opened it up about this. But I want to see one. I'd like to see if there's any truth to that 200 distance versus 100 distance because I feel like I see it. I feel like I get better range out of my 100 than I do my 200.
I do too, personally.
But I don't have any data. It's all touchy-feely, and just like these two antennas, I don't want to say what I say is it feels like it, but I can't tell you 100%, and I need to do a test and see side by side, same type of environment, and I could probably do it with. I'm not putting the Hound recovery. I don't like that antenna, but I should probably get my fender mount set up and try to do it that way, where I test one and try them side by side. But
sure.
30 minutes. Let's wrap this up. This is going to be the part 4 or 5 or whatever. It's the end of the antenna.
Part 3-2.
Gosh. This is the end. If you can't decide which antenna you want with this podcast, we can't help you. And I don't know which antenna you want, honestly. I was like,
we got both. 10% off through the end of the month.
You tell us. We can't tell you. All right, man.